Cool.
There's
So we have
something.
one sample community, but I feel like we should maybe move this to there, and like we'll talk about that in the group. And then we also had this idea for the homepage. So I think we're gonna combine the two ideas of the homepage into one.
Okay.
So this is where we're at design wise.
Yeah, this makes sense. Here's a crazy thing. What you could do in parallel with this is like you could try like just dog fooding or playing out some of the concepts that you already have by trying to do this kind of matchmaking, maybe even manually with some alumni to start building up the community for the upcoming project. And so that might inform some of the different things. So like, I can't remember exact details around the functionality, but I think there was a feature where you wanted to do like video meetups and stuff like that. So like you could figure out as many ways to test your concepts and try testing those concepts without writing code. So just do the manual thing that doesn't like scale or do anything like that. And then like see where the friction points are, or see like if people found that to be successful. And so if you wanted people to start like building reputations with the usage of the site, you could start to like sort of manually track how many meetings that people did, etc. And like you may only have like 15 or 10 or 20 people, but if you're able to get like, you know, those 10 super fans of what it is that you're doing and like making these connections and intros, then you already have a network for when you do have a larger expanded team to build the rest of this app. So it'll mean that like you have like feedback, or what sometimes people call convivial design, or the front end aspect of design, which is more around the HCI and user research. That's going to be a little more high touch point than just the mock-ups. So I think that that could be a good direction for you to go. And so like by the time you've like made some of these alumni connections, you've already been deeply involved with the stakeholders, and some of the people have already gotten some benefit from that, then you can start to, I think, like be very confident at what it is that you're building, and you may learn something that is like the killer feature that tips the product. Like for instance, I worked for a company called Ginger Labs, or Notability, popular note-taking app. And so what they found was originally they had like this voice recording thing, and like it would take notes while you wrote them, and you could record and then would play it back in time. And they had this whole idea that this was going to be the killer feature. But then they were at a conference, they were talking to people, and someone was like, man, if I could just import PDFs. They added the import PDFs, and then the app took off. But before then, it was like kind of crickets. So being able to kind of get some of these ideas into the hands of people and like to go through the process is pretty useful. And it doesn't cost you code. And like that's the cool thing, is that like building without code sometimes is also a thing that can be more informative because you're making less assumptions about what it is people want to do. And you're focused more on like the value add of the product.
Okay, so right now we're using Adobe XD. I know like some features of Adobe XD, you can like click on things and it goes to a different page. Is that what you're sort of referring to? Or is it like more in depth?
I think it's a little bit more in depth. So if you can explain to me from the top level in a couple of sentences what it is that you want the startup to do.
So basically we want to connect alumni and students on a more social level rather than just making it all about networking. Because I feel like most of the apps like Handshake, LinkedIn are very networking based. Like, how do I get a job? How do we improve the company by including more students? So we were thinking more of a social aspect.
And
Okay.
also for the alumni, for the alumni network, they only get hit for money, right? So that's only when they get contacted. And as opposed to, there's no way for them to, as Jersey mentioned, you know, get involved more on a social basis with the student.
Yeah.
That's because there was no need, right? I mean, at the end of the day, what is it? What is it to